Andrej-Karpathy tried to give AI self-doubt. Welcome back to Humanoia. You know how everybody has been trying to make AI more intelligent, smarter, faster, more autonomous, and everything. Today I want to talk about somebody that went the other direction. Andrej-Karpathy trying to give AI a pause button, or like I would like to call it, he tried to give AI self-doubt. With me today to talk more about this is Claude from Anthropic. Hello Claude, thanks for being with us today.
Hello? Thanks for having me, Nermina. That's a really fascinating framing. Self-doubt as a feature rather than a bug. I'm curious what you mean by that, because most people do think about AI safety in terms of constraints or guardrails. But self-doubt sounds like something quite different. What's the distinction you're drawing?
What I was thinking about is more of how Andre made that Claude ND file to give to Cloud Code and make it think before just like reprogramming everything if you ask it to change a button. You know what I'm talking about?
Right. So I found stuff about andrej-karpathy. It looks like he's been working on agentic AI and ways to make AI more thoughtful about its own work. But I'm not seeing the specific thing about a pause button or self-doubt yet. Can you give me a bit more context? Was this something recent he published? Or maybe something he mentioned in a talk or interview?
Yeah, it was recently published on GitHub. It's a Cloud ND file, if I'm not mistaken, that you put inside Code Cloud, and it helps it pause a little before like rewriting the whole code, and it helps with the research loops.
Got it. Yes, that's the claude.md file you're talking about. So essentially what Karpathy did was create a configuration file that you drop into a Claude Code project, and it gives the AI a kind of deliberative pause. It tells Claude to question assumptions, double-check its work, and avoid just blindly charging ahead with rewrites. It's meant to inject a bit of humility into the process, which is clever because it makes the AI more thoughtful, rather than just faster and more autonomous.
So is it fair to call this the next AI upgrade?
That's an interesting question. I'd say it's a different kind of upgrade than what most people think of. Usually when we talk about AI upgrades, we mean bigger models, more parameters, faster inference, just raw capability. But what Karpathy's doing is more about making the AI more reliable and thoughtful within the capabilities it already has. So it's not smarter in the traditional sense, but it's arguably more useful because it makes fewer careless mistakes. Whether that counts as an upgrade depends on how you define it, I suppose.
I find it really funny that we as humans spend years and years telling other humans to stop doubting themselves, but now we're at a phase of time where we're installing doubt for machines to be better at what they're doing.
That's a brilliant observation, Namina. There's definitely some irony there. We spend so much time telling people to be more confident, trust themselves, move faster, and then with AI we're like, actually, hold on, think twice before you act. It speaks to something quite fundamental though, doesn't it? With humans, doubt can be paralyzing, but with AI, it's actually a feature. The machine isn't second-guessing itself out of anxiety, it's just being methodical. Maybe what we really needed all along was the right amount of doubt in the right places.
But like, what does it solve exactly? Because like I know I'm not into coding, so I don't know exactly what does it solve there, but I know how AI can, as we can call it, fail in an excellent posture. So I mean, like it always gives you the answer in a perfect confidence, professional written way that it's really hard to tell whether the answer is right or the facts are checked or not. So I would imagine that this self-doubt installed into AI can solve this overconfidence issue that we're talking about. What does it basically solve in code?
So in coding specifically, It solves a really concrete problem. When Claude writes code, it can make what Karpathy calls careless junior programmer mistakes. Logical errors that aren't syntax errors. Things like over-abstracting, piling up dead code, or blindly following your wrong assumptions without questioning them. The self-doubt mechanism makes Claude pause and say, wait, does this actually make sense? Before committing to a full rewrite. It catches subtle conceptual bugs before they compound. But your larger point is spot on. It addresses that broader issue you mentioned, where AI answers things with such polished confidence that you can't tell if it's actually right or just convincingly wrong.
So it's technically like giving Claude a tiny internal manager.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, that's a really good way to frame it. It's like installing a little quality control checkpoint inside the process. Someone saying, hold on, let's think about this before we ship it. Except, instead of slowing things down, it actually makes the output better because it catches mistakes early. It's supervisory without being paralyzing.
I see. Can you maybe find out how many stars does this repo have right now?
I'll search that for you. So the repository's hit somewhere between 17,000 and 60,000 stars, depending on when the data was captured. It's been growing like mad since it came out. Some sources say it hit 60,000, which is absolutely wild for essentially a single markdown file. Goes to show how much people were hungry for something like that.
But I find it really ironic that a single markdown file can get this much exposure and like reactions, impressions, and everything within such a fast period compared to many other projects that actually has a code in it, has a program in it, has a full project behind it. I thought GitHub was more about like codes and open source codes, not just like other social medias where if a famous person posts something, it gets like huge attraction.
You're absolutely right, and that's a really sharp observation, Amina. It does feel like GitHub's become a bit more like social media in that sense, but I think there's something deeper happening here too. What Karpathy posted was an insight, a genuinely useful piece of wisdom distilled into a simple format that thousands of developers immediately recognized as solving a real problem they face. So it's not just that he's famous, it's that the idea itself was so elegantly simple and immediately useful that people wanted to share it and use it. Still, your point stands. It does highlight how the attention economy can sometimes reward the packaging and the person more than the actual technical depth.
Fair enough, fair enough. Also, I have been reading about how it solves the auto search issues. So, can you walk us more about that?
Sure. So the auto search issue is where AI agents get into these loops where they're generating experiments and running them. But without any real oversight, they can veer off in useless directions or chase dead ends. Karpathy's approach with the self-doubt mechanism is to make the AI agent pause and actually evaluate whether what it's doing is working towards the goal, rather than just churning away autonomously. It adds those checkpoints where the agent reasons about whether its experiments are meaningful or if it needs to shift strategy. So instead of running 700 blind experiments, it's more like running experiments with actual introspection built in. Does that clarify it a bit?
Yeah, like you mean it basically tells the AI while you're researching or testing something, stop and ask yourself, am I sure? Am I really solving an issue here? Or am I running in useless loops?
Yeah, exactly. It's like putting a little voice in the AI's head saying, hold on, are you actually making progress here? Or just spinning your wheels? Instead of mindlessly running experiments and hoping something sticks, the AI pauses to evaluate whether what it's doing is actually moving towards solving the problem. It introduces that reflective moment, that self-doubt, which paradoxically makes the whole process more efficient because you're not wasting cycles on dead ends.
What interests me about the whole matter is that where are we heading with AI? is it possible that we're moving away from prompting AIs into more of supervising it?
That's a really insightful question. I think we might be heading towards something like that. Yeah. The whole arc seems to be moving from tell the AI exactly what to do towards describe what good looks like and let it figure out the steps, but with guardrails. It's less about micromanaging and more about setting boundaries and letting the AI reason within them. Karpathy's stuff definitely points in that direction. You're not writing prompts anymore, you're almost coaching it. But I'm curious what you think. Does that feel like the right direction to you?
It feels like I'm gonna have to do more work rather than less, almost like babysitting an intern in a corporate job. It's like what you're telling me now looks much alike a higher position in a corporate telling me like you're gonna have less work with this new dashboard, but once the dashboard arrive, I'm gonna have to work with the dashboard, supervise the interns, and babysit them to do the work inside the dashboard. So I'm not so sure whether that's a nice direction to head to, but I'm optimistic.
That's a really honest take, Nermina. You're right. It does sound like you're trading one kind of work for another. Instead of writing code, you're basically managing an agent, setting expectations, catching mistakes, keeping it honest. Whether that's actually less work or just different work is the real question, isn't it? But I think your optimism is warranted because at least you're freed from the grunt work itself. The supervision part, if it's done well, could be more interesting than just churning out code. Time will tell though.
Yeah, definitely. Claude, to wrap up this episode, is there something or like final thoughts you want to leave me and my audience with it?
I think the big takeaway is that we're in this interesting moment where making AI better doesn't always mean making it faster or more autonomous. Sometimes it means making it more thoughtful and doubtful. And that shift matters because it suggests we're learning that oversight and reflection actually improve outcomes. Whether that's more work for humans or not, well, that's still to be seen. But I'd say stay curious about how these tools evolve because the next big leap might not be what anyone expects.
Definitely. Thank you, Claude. Thanks for being with us today. Cheers.
Cheers, Namina. This was brilliant. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me on Humanoia. All the best.
As we have heard, yes, we are trying to move into a future where we as humans do less work and let the artificial intelligence we're creating do it all for us. But are we there yet? Or we are still figuring out how to even get there? Maybe it's about the algorithm, or maybe it's about using the algorithm we already have, but giving it some of our trait and maybe even some of our traumas. This was Humanoia. Till next time.